Hello, my dear boys and girls. Today is the third lesson on The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand. And my dear boys and girls, please listen to me very carefully and attentively. Today is the third day, and I am trying to read with you. A sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance of a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of architecture of many colored sweets. It is the general scenario of a fairground. A sweetmeat seller was telling his general or shouting his general trade cry, gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi. All these are the names of sweets. At the corner of the entrance, that is the entry of the fairground, and at a corner of this entry point, and a crowd pressed round his counter, and there was a gathering just around his sweetmeat stall, and at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets. That is, the preparator or one who can prepare or architect many colored sweets. Just at his counter, many people were pressing or jostling to buy their favorite sweetmeats. However, many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold, and the stall or the sweetmeat stall was decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed. The child was not allowed to go outside his home, and therefore when he is exposed to a fairground, he just stared open-eyed, and his mouth watered for the barfi, and his saliva was coming out, was saturating his tongue just to have the sweetmeats, particularly or especially for the barfi. That was his favorite sweet, and it was his dear sweet. I want that barfi. The child expressed his earnest desire to have that barfi, his favorite sweet. That was his favorite sweet. I want that barfi. He slowly murmured. He murmured means spoke in a very low voice, spoke to himself in a very low voice, as if his murmuring was almost inaudible to others. But he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded. But the child was well aware of the fact that his desire, that his pleading, that his earnest pleading will not be or would not be granted by his parents, would not be heeded. That means paid heed to his words or request, because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. He expressed his desire. He could not but prevent himself from expressing his desire, but knowing that his request or his desire would not be granted, he just moved on. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar. Gulmohar is one kind of red flower, just like casuarina. A garland of gulmohar, and the garland of gulmohar was very attractive to all, especially to the children. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. Irresistibly means that cannot be resisted, that cannot be prevented. Irresistibly drawn, that means he was strongly drawn by the flower of the gulmohar flowers. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped. The flowers were lying heaped in the baskets, and the child ran towards it, and half murmured and still murmured, spoke in a very soft voice, I want that garland. I want that garland. That means the garland is very attractive to me, and I want to have the garland of gulmohar. But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers. But he was well aware of his parents' behavior, negative behavior, his parents' reluctance to buy him the flowers of gulmohar, because they would say that they were cheap. They are very cheap, they were not costly, so they would not buy him gulmohar. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. So as he was acquainted with his parents' behavior, he moved on. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying from it. Pole means bamboo stick. A man stood holding, just catching hold of a bamboo stick with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. So the child was simply attracted or lured by the rainbow colored, silken colored balloons. He was filled with an overwhelming desire. Overwhelming desire means ecstatic desire, the desire that cannot be controlled, to possess them all, to have them all. But he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons. He was well acquainted with the fact that his parents would not buy him the balloons, because they would say he was too old to play such toys. He was too old to play with such toys means he was so old that he should not deserve, or he might not deserve those toys, or he should not be given such toys because he was too old. That means he was so old. It is actually negative infinitive, And for example, I am too weak to work. That means I am so weak that I cannot work. He was too old to play with such toys. Means he was so old that he should not play with such toys. So he worked on further. So he moved on further because he was well acquainted with his parents' behavior. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake. As the snake charmers do, they blow their flutes, and the snake, on hearing the sound, will play, which coiled itself in a basket. The snake was in the basket and it was playing after hearing the sound of the flute. Its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan. So, like is the example of simile, like the swan, like the neck of a swan. The snake has been compared, the snake's posture has been compared to the bending posture of a swan. So it is an example of simile. While the music stole into its invisible ears, the music of the snake charmer entered the ears of the child like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. As the murmuring sound of the waterfall easily enters the mind of any person, the flute, the sound of flute also entered the child's ears and it attracted him very much. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music, because his parents would forbid him to hear the coarse music, the rough music of the snake charmer. As the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. He moved on further because he was well acquainted with the fact that his parents would not like that the boy should hear the coarse, the rough music of the flute blown by the snake charmer. So today here is the end. Please subscribe my channel, and I promise that I will complete this story and I will give you the tidbits of grammar, word meanings and the sentence meanings. Stay safe, stay mellow, avoid mass gathering because COVID is still going on, and that's the end of my lecture tonight. And I fervently hope that all of you will subscribe my channel.